Hey everybody, it's Mike here with BeastNet, and on this episode I have with me Ashley Gutermuth. Ashley, tell everyone a little bit about yourself.
Oh, well, let's see. I am a comedian and a streak runner. I'm based near Seattle, Washington. I've ran, as of today is my 1,889th day in a row.
989.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, 1,989. I was gonna say, yeah, because I follow you on Facebook, and I was gonna say, yeah, you're 11 away from 2,000. So, yeah.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool. I've done it so that's 5.5 years and some change, almost at day 2,000. I didn't think that I would run forever, but I guess I'm just going to run until I die now. Why not? I wasn't a runner in high school or anything like that. I just picked it up 5.5 years ago and haven't stopped.
And I find that a lot. There's a lot of people that I've met that are runners now they're like, yeah, I never ran in school. I never ran as a kid. It's like for me, I tell people I played baseball because I had to run 90 feet at a time.
Yeah.
That was
I played baseball too. I loved baseball. If you go through my elementary school yearbooks where it says, what are you going to be when you grow up? I wanted to be a professional baseball player. I loved it. I loved playing baseball. I was shortstop and pitcher. And I played baseball until I was probably 13, 14, and then had to transition to softball.
Yeah, my daughter was that way. She played till she was about 13 or 14, and then it was kind of one of those where I don't want to say she was forced to play softball, but it was made very obvious that she was the only girl still playing baseball.
Yeah.
And everyone made sure to point out that, like, shouldn't you be playing softball? Shouldn't you be? And it's like, no, she can play whatever she wants until she decides she doesn't want to anymore. So, but eventually she chose to go to softball because she got tired of hearing it.
Yeah. I think that when I was doing it, they were all boys teams. I think I had to change, but I could be wrong. But it was a big transition because when I would throw from shortstop to first, my arm was so much, like I was so much stronger that the girl, like they weren't used to that. So I didn't fit in too well there either, but I wasn't a good runner then. Even the 90 feet or so that it is, but
yeah. And like I said, that's what I played that. And I was a shortstop as well until junior high. And then I got switched out to the outfield, but just because we had like 4 people that could play shortstop and only a couple of us could play outfield. So I got moved to the outfield, but I still only ran as far as I had to get the ball and then run. If I ran more than 90 feet, it means I hit a double.
There you go.
It was just, So I had a lot of friends that played soccer, and I'm like, you want me to run around for like an hour and a half? No.
So intense. Yeah. That's intense. I really like that I can run now. I can pretty much run 10-minute miles forever, it feels like. And when I started running, I was probably 16, 17-minute miles, like really, really slow. But I've always been like, I've always liked sports, and I've always liked I've played ice hockey. I've always liked, flag football and things like that. Mm-hmm. But just didn't have the endurance to be able to breathe for that long.
And that is what it is. It's that breathing, and that's I found because, I think the last time we saw each other was still when I was like 280 pounds. At the last show I think I went to, I was before I started like really starting to run hard again, and I'm down to 220 right now. But
oh my goodness, that's so amazing.
I've been running almost every day, but most days. But now I get to that point where you don't feel right if I don't go out and run.
Yeah, I wonder what. So I had this car accident in January, and spun around on the highway 3 times, got hit, blacked out on I-5. Car was totally totaled, and I still ran the next day. So that didn't break my streak, but the idea, like, and at the time I was like, should I run? What should I do? I had to go to the hospital, went to the emergency room, but it's just that idea of how does it end? Is this going to be what breaks it after this long? I just couldn't let it happen.
And that is the hard part. I think you just get to that point. But yeah, like I said, for me, it's one of those, I've just gotten to a point where if I don't go out and run. I went and did something with some friends yesterday morning. It was more of a hike.
Yeah.
And then after I got done, I'm like, I was at home and I'm like, I just don't feel, I haven't had that runner's high yet today. So it's like, well, I'm going to go out and run another 4 miles just because. So,
Knock it out. Yeah, that's great. I think it's nice. You can just go out and do it. You don't really need any special equipment. I wear sandals, running sandals, so it's even less than a shoe. So those are pretty cool, but I like that it doesn't take much. You can just throw them in a bag.
yeah, I've seen those on your videos. I mean, how do you like though? Because you always see every couple of years where there's a new thing that comes through where all of a sudden, for a while there it was the basically barefoot, but it was just kind of a wrapping on your foot. And then they, every once in a while you see a new thing, but the sandals isn't something that I've seen a whole lot of. How do you like those? I mean, obviously you like them because you use them daily, but
Yeah, I've worn this one particular pair for 15 months and they have over 1,400 miles on them. So that appeals to me that I'm not changing out shoes every 500 miles.
yeah.
I like that they're thin, that I can just run through puddles, minimal kind of deal. What I used to do was I would run, and if I was just running in regular shoes like Hoka's or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
I would, and my ankles would hurt or some issue would happen. I would then run a mile barefoot to see if I could figure out what I was doing with my feet that was making that hurt. And that usually helped me figure it out. But then I moved to the sandals, one, because they're made in Seattle. And I thought that was cool when I moved here, that, I just thought, I'll give it a shot. And I just like the idea that I wasn't having to walk into a shoe store every month and a half and go, oh, okay, I need another, $100 pair of shoes. That never made me any faster because they're not going to.
No, they're not. I mean, the only thing I ever found with shoes was I used to, when I first started running like 10 years ago before one of my injuries, I got horrible shin splints.
Mm.
So I went in and, checked, and they're like, okay, well, I think it's pronate or whatever. I roll off my big toe is what I basically run off of. And they're like, yeah, these shoes will correct that. And it did make the shin splints go away.
Nice.
But then it's kind of, I've also wondered, okay, is there ways that rather than just getting shoes, can I learn to train a different way to make that go away? And that's kind of the way I've been trying to look at it now, because that's the hard part for me is it's like, I keep track. Last month I did over 150 miles in a month.
That's awesome.
And, it's like, okay. And then I'm looking at my shoes going, okay, these are supposed to last for maybe 500 miles. So I bought them right before in the middle of May. So it's like, I've already got over 200 something miles on them. So these are going to be done by the end of July. I'm going to need a new pair of shoes again. And it's just like, so that is the hard one. I've thought about the barefoot because I love being barefoot. I'm one of those people. I come home, my shoes are gone. Shoes, socks, everything are off. And I will go all day. It's like I pretty much figured out definitely during the pandemic, I don't like shoes and I don't like pants.
There you go. You're just walking around like Donald Duck and Winnie the Pooh.
Pretty much.
All shirt, no pants.
Yep. If I didn't have kids still at home, I would. I really would. So
the downside, so I like the barefoot idea too. The downside to that is when you step on things. So even with these shoes, I've had a needle go through them and go up into my foot.
Oh,
and
that does not sound good.
Yeah, that was unpleasant. That was worrying. It was right in the middle of the pandemic, and I was like, do I really want to go to a hospital right now to make sure that I don't have tetanus or something?
Yeah.
But I'm still alive, so we're good.
That's
but
good.
Yeah, I've had a few things like just sharp stuff that will go through, and I've got another pair that I just have to start breaking in. Of this, they're both the same sandals, but they're a different type. So the one that I had before had a thicker sole, I guess you could call it, and this one's a little bit thinner. So we'll see how it works out. It takes a transition though, because they're absolutely zero drop. The first month, your calves hurt like they've never hurt before. It uses different muscles. And even now I do heel drops on steps where you just lower your heel and then try to build up my calves. because even though I've worn them for over a year, all of me is tight all the time. So I have my ankles are pretty tight, and which comes from my calves not being strong enough. So I try to build those up and try to get everything more loose. And I'm still in physical therapy from the car accident. So I get some stretching exercises from that. But yeah, I think I wish that I was more flexible. As much as I run, I'm not flexible at all. I can't even touch my toes.
Oh, I can't either. And that's one thing that I did find, because my backstory a little bit, 10 years ago or 12 years ago, 12 years ago now, I was 280 pounds and decided to lose it all and started running. And that became my first love of running was when I did that. And what helped me a lot that time was yoga.
Nice.
At the time, my wife worked at a 24-hour fitness, so I could go in and take all the classes I wanted for free.
That's cool.
So I would go in and I started doing yoga twice a week. And it was a huge difference. All of a sudden, it's like things started, opening up. And I've been really wondering now if I need to start doing that because I'm having a hip issue. And I'm like, okay, maybe I start doing the yoga and getting the stretching because that's usually what I find is my issue.
Yeah. Give that a shot. Yeah. I have tight hip flexors too. I was doing a Thomas stretch where you basically hang off the side of something and then pull your knee to your chest.
Mm-hmm.
And that is supposed to help your hips, but I don't know. I think it's going to take a long time to loosen me up.
Yeah.
I like it. And the other aspect, I started collecting trash while I was running after the car accident because I couldn't run fast. I was really transitioning down to trying to do all 3 miles, 4 miles a day in like the 7 to 8 minute range.
Mm-hmm.
And that got blown out of the water by the car accident. So I thought, what else can I do? So I started picking up trash as I ran along. And that helps, I think, because I'll run and pick it up, but I'll also be bending, and there's some stretching involved in that. So.
Oh, yeah. I say, because, I follow you. So it's really fun to kind of watch and see some of the stuff that you find. Because every day you post a video and then you'll post, pictures of the stuff you find when you're running and the garbage you pick up and some of the random things that you find are quite funny. So
it is. I like it. I wear gloves and for a long time I was only picking up stuff that was really old because I didn't want anything that anybody had recently touched.
Yeah.
Lately I've moved back into the regular, just what people are throwing, but it is nice. I can see areas get cleaned up again and, and I get to recycle it and try to figure out how to, what can be recycled, what can't be recycled. So I've never really been good at that. I grew up on the East Coast and in Pittsburgh, and we just didn't really recycle. I don't even remember a recycling truck coming. So
yeah. I can remember when I was younger, we didn't really do it, but I mean, even living here, but it wasn't until, I got into my teens when all of a sudden it started becoming, I'm a little bit older, I think, than you too. So we got my teens when all of a sudden it started, we had to start separating things and then, trying to figure out what was and what wasn't recyclable. And yeah, that was always the fun. So, and then you get different places. Like I used to live up in Renton, and in Renton we could recycle everything.
Oh, wow.
Pretty much there was obviously food waste, stuff like that, but food waste we could even put into like different places for like compost. And then in Puyallup, where I am now, it's like 4 things. Like glass, you can't recycle, and there's a few things. It's like, why can't we recycle? We could recycle. Why can't we recycle this?
I don't understand the glass thing. I thought glass, that was always,
that was one of the big ones, always.
But no, apparently we're full up on recycling glass. So,
yeah,
wow. What can you do?
Yeah, I was like, okay, weird. So yeah, it's like one of those things I yell at all the time by my wife because I go to throw something in recycling. She's like, that's not recyclable. And I'm like, what do you mean it's not recyclable?
Yeah, I'm trying.
No. Trying to save the world.
But it's funny. I think my recycling doubled. In fact, I added an extra can because just because it was filling up so fast from all the stuff that I was finding. So the person that picks up the recycling must just think, what is happening here? This went from not that much to a reasonable, household amount to just overflowing. she's lost her mind.
Being responsible. No, I mean, I think it's awesome because I mean, I see what you're doing, picking up the garbage. And then I've been, when I go run, I was like, oh, I'll do the same. But unfortunately, well, I guess it's not unfortunate, but where I run, it just doesn't seem to be. It's a park right across from my house in Puyallup that, I mean, they have service guys and everything. So every once in a while you'll see something, but there's a garbage can every 100 feet.
That's nice. Yeah. So it's
I mean,
available. Yeah. That's
usually
fun.
what I find there is I find the rocks, which I don't know if you're on my Facebook. Every once in a while, I'll take pictures of rocks that I find that they paint and put on the side of the.
Oh yeah, those are cool. I like them.
They are. I never take them though. I'm one of those. I take a picture and then I'll rehide them somewhere and put them somewhere. I'm like,
take a picture, move on, let somebody else enjoy it.
Let someone else enjoy and find it. So, yeah, it's pretty cool. So for those listeners that don't know, me and Ashley, we know each other from comedy. So she knows me as Brandon Valentine. So when all of a sudden I started talking to her as Mike James, and she's probably like, "What's this that dude doing?" But no. So, yeah, so she knows me from comedy. That's how we met. But I kept seeing it all on my Facebook, and I'm like, "This is someone I think would be a lot of fun to talk to on BeastNet," because I mean the running and the picking up the garbage and doing great things. So
I think it's great. I've enjoyed it. It's made a big difference in my life. I initially started running every day to help my husband, or at least just to run with him to prepare for his fitness test because he's in the Air Force. So I would run with him, and he is tall and doesn't need help, tall, skinny, and fit, doesn't need any help. But I was like, I want to compete because my marriage is a competition. And
aren't they all?
Aren't they all? And so he went away for 2 weeks, and I said, okay, I'm going to run a mile a day. And at the end of this, it's going to be amazing. At the end of 2 weeks. And at the end of the 2 weeks, I'm really no farther than I was at the beginning, but I just didn't stop. And since then, I've been able to pace other people on their fitness tests. It took about a year, and I really hammered down my time, and I was able to do a lot more, to run without wanting to die, but I pretty much only did that mile a day. Every once in a while I would do like a 5K or something like that, but pretty much only did that mile a day. And then as we progressed for the Air Force, the fitness test is 1.5 miles. So it's not as much as some of the other, branches, but just being able to do that, I wanted to be able to do that and to be able to run with people and to help them with their fitness test if they wanted to. And that's worked out. So that's been good. I can at least, be like, hey, do you want to go run? And then, be helpful in some way.
Yeah. Which is awesome. I mean, that's for me. It was one of those, once again, I got too big after my foot injury 4 years ago. I used every excuse I could not to get back into my fitness and running. And finally this year, I'm like, I'm just doing it again. I need to start running. So I think in February, I was happy to basically finish a 5K in like less than an hour. And now I'm like, I think my best so far is like 4.5 miles in less than an hour. So
you're knocking it out. I feel like every day you're posting like these massive, improvements.
Yeah.
And that's so encouraging for people, because if you just stick to it.
Yes. And that's it.
That's it. The only reason that I can run is because I've done it every day. I never would have thought. And when I start 5 years ago, I probably weighed 154. And now I probably weigh 129. Yeah. And I would attribute most of that weight loss to running. I'm 5'6", so it's not. It's a decent amount to lose over that long of a period of time, but I think that it really helps, especially with just everything, the muscles that build in your legs. It's just cool things that happen. Like my ankles shrunk. I didn't expect my ankles to shrink. Or like there's times where you like poke your thigh and you're like, oh my God, like that's pretty hard. Like that's pretty good. There's some muscles in there. Yeah. And I just like those moments where you're just like, oh yeah. Or just being able, if you go and you run with somebody and you're able to talk and they're kind of like, why are you talking to me? Like, I'm trying to breathe and not die. That kind of makes you feel like, oh, I've improved.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. And that was the hardest part for me, was the breathing. Because for me, it's like one of those, a lot of people, I smoked until 3 years ago.
Mm.
Uh, the end of this month will be my 3-year anniversary of quitting smoking.
Oh, that's
I've
amazing.
had asthma my entire life, so don't ask me the question on why I was smoking. I mean, it's one of those questions that really I've been asking myself for many years. But I've had asthma most of my life. Then I was a smoker, and now all of a sudden it's like, it felt like almost for like the first year of quitting smoking that my lungs got worse.
Oh, really? Just
And I've heard other people say that, and they say a lot of that is because a lot of that crap that's in your lungs is finally like breaking free and kind of, they're clearing out a little bit
wow.
and healing. So all of a sudden it's like, this year I'm pushing it, and it's like I can breathe. And that was my biggest thing. On a lot of times I would run hard and I felt like I could still run, but my lungs are like, no, you can't. But the rest of my body. But now I'm finally getting to a point where my lungs are, because I just push. I keep pushing myself, and actually my coach keeps telling me to slow down. So, but he's like, you're pushing a little hard. You're going to, push yourself to an injury. I'm like, but I feel so much better when I'm running.
Yeah. When I first started, I would wheeze, and it sounded like, breathing through a straw. And I'd never smoked. I've never, ever. And so that was just being unfit. It's not to say that I didn't do stuff. Like I did boxing, and I love that. I love Muay Thai and getting involved in that kind of thing. But just the aerobic strength wasn't there. I did, just couldn't get the breath. But now I'll tell you, the 10-minute mile sweet spot that's usually what I can do. So if I run pretty much 4 miles every day, and it takes me anywhere between 36 to 40 minutes. Usually the first mile is the fastest, because I don't stop to pick up trash, because that's for the Run Streakers Association. You're supposed to run 1 mile and you're not supposed to stop. So I don't collect trash on the first mile. So that's just, so I try to make that usually my fastest one. And then usually it takes me about 10 minutes for the additional miles, just because I'm stopping, or I'm looking, or I'm having to go through trash or something, or go through grass.
Yeah.
But all that's good. And it's still, you can still tell how hard your heart is working if you wear a, watch or heart rate monitor or something like that, which are pretty darn valuable.
Yeah, they are. I mean, I've got the Fitbit, and actually for Father's Day, I just upgraded to the Charge 4, which has active minutes in it, which is a whole new thing that my old one didn't. That tells me when it'll start vibrating when my heart hits like active zones, like cool. Showing that I'm, in the right spot. So that's kind of when I'm running, is I try and keep that in the active zone. So if I start to, slow down too much, where all of a sudden, okay, I ran, I need to like catch my breath, And that's one thing I've really noticed, is that for a long time, it was like I had spots picked out on my route that this is where I would stop and catch my breath, my run. And now all of a sudden those spots, I've completely blown them out, and I just go until I can't breathe. And then it's like, I walk for a second, but just enough to catch my breath and then take off running again. So, and it's, and like you said, I've been noticing a lot of, 4 miles in an hour, I was just ecstatic. And then the other day, I think I did 4 miles in under 50 minutes. And I'm like, okay, so I've dropped 10 minutes. And I'm like, that was only like 3 weeks ago that I was excited about 4 in an hour. And now I've dropped 10 minutes off that. So
that's amazing.
Like, yeah. So it's a lot of pushing, but like I said, my coach keeps telling me, she's like, don't push more than 4 miles. She's like, anything more than 4 miles, go drop your pace way back to, go from more the walking kind of hiking. She's like, you don't want to keep pushing too hard over, 4 miles, because you're going to start hurting things.
Yeah. Well, the problem is your bones too, right? That's something people will ask me, hey, how do I get started in run streaking? And, what advice do you have? Usually what I say is, if you don't run, if you haven't run regularly, like don't have a base, then just stick to 1 mile and do some other stuff, so that you feel like, because sometimes people are like, it's just 1 mile, but then they will increase it too fast, and their bones can't handle it. And, they break their leg, or something crazy like that happens. Have you seen Eddie Izzard? Do you know that comedian?
Yeah.
Okay. Have you seen him run his marathons?
No, I haven't.
It's awesome. So he did, he's done it a few times, but he had no running background. He just said mentally, I'm going to push myself to do this. So he went and saw his friend that was a doctor, and his doctor friend was like, hey, this is a bad idea. So what he did was he ran, I think 30 some marathons in 30 days. He was doing like a marathon a day. And yeah, it was, he did one for Nelson Mandela. He did one for something else in the UK. I'd have to look, but it's all on YouTube, and it's amazing. At one point, he gets really sick, and his organs, I guess, started to shut down, and had to stop. He eventually went back and was able to finish it. But yeah, it was so amazing.
Look that one up.
He can do. He's a really cool person.
It's amazing what your body can do and what you can push it to do. I know that's one thing I tell people, because my very first marathon, I told myself 12 years ago when I was running like every day and I was doing 6 or 7 miles a day and I'd done a couple halves. I'm like, before my 40th birthday, I'm doing a full marathon. Then 3 years ago, yeah, because I'm 42. So 3 years ago, all of a sudden it's like, hey, your 40th birthday is in December. And I'm like, I'm 280 pounds. Well, guess I better sign up for this marathon. And everyone I knew was like, you're an idiot. And I'm like, whatever. I told myself I'd do this before I was 40. So I'm going to, and I was literally I think I was 275.
Wow.
And I did the marathon 6 days before my 40th birthday. It took me 9.5 hours.
You did it.
But I did it. And it was one of those things. And everyone's like, that was a stupid choice. And I'm like, it really was. It was something I should have never put my body through, but I did it anyway. And now I'm at that brain power where I'm like, I did another one last year in June where I did it in 8. So I cut an hour and a half off, but I still was too big. And I'm like, I need to do a good one. I was supposed to redo it again this June, and I wanted to be under 7. But, well, eventually I'll get another full marathon in. But
the furthest I've done is a half marathon. And that's one of the first places where, I think that was about 2 years into my run streaking, where I said, when you run, you are only racing against yourself.
Mm-hmm.
There is no, I'm going to be the fastest or the best. Because I think I was at the halfway point at this half marathon, and there were people that had already circled and were about to finish. Like they had doubled my pace. And I was just like, well, one of them's in a dinosaur outfit. So I must be slow. So you just have to just keep trying to improve for yourself. People get really hung up because they don't have 5-6 minute miles. But my fastest mile, I think, is 6:55.
Oh, that's pretty good.
And I couldn't do that now. That's like a one-off, really. I've ran a mile and a half in like 10:20 or something like that. But I have to train for stuff like that to really push. People should not get upset if they aren't as fast. If they're doing it, it is so much more than what most people are willing to do. Even if you only do 1/10 of a mile and you walk the rest, that's amazing. I try to give as many thumbs up and waves to people when I'm running. They probably think I'm crazy, but I just want to be supportive.
And that's me. I love that, because I've always been that one, when I go out, because I've done a lot of the Spartan races and a lot of that stuff. And I would tell people all the time, because I was a bigger guy doing these, and they're like, why are you doing this? I'm like, because I'm going to finish it. And everyone's like, you're never going to get first. I'm like, I don't care. I'm going to finish it, because if you really want to go with who am I beating? I'm beating everybody that didn't get off the couch and do it.
Yeah.
So, and I'm beating the person I was yesterday, because I didn't do this yesterday. So, and that's me. I just want it for me all the time. It's like, I keep looking at, everything I've done since February, and everyone's like, well, look at this person. They're faster. I'm like, I don't care. I'm faster than I was last week.
Yeah. So much work. It's funny. And it's never the people that are doing anything that are telling you who's faster, because anybody that knows how much work it is would just think it's amazing. I mean, even to lose 10 pounds is such an astonishingly difficult task.
Mm-hmm.
People should be so much more proud of themselves than they are. Things are so hard.
I agree so much. I mean, I'm in a group on Facebook that actually I one of my friends started called Survivors, and it's basically where like everyone's like, what is Survivors? I'm like, it's positivity.
Yeah.
We're giving everyone credit, and I have a lot of people that are like, oh, I wish I can do what you do. It's like, don't compare yourself to what I'm doing. I'm a different person. My body's built differently than yours, and I've had, luckily enough, because of my work, I've had time for the last few months to go out and do all this running, and I mean, I'm built different than everyone. So I mean, for anyone to expect to do the weight loss I did since February, it's not realistic. It's not realistic that I did it. I just happened to get lucky. Like everything, the stars aligned perfectly to where I could do everything just right to drop 60 pounds in 5 months.
Yeah.
So
It's amazing.
I know, but it's not a normal. And I have a lot of friends that are like, oh, I can never do that. And I'm like, no, but you can do what's best for you. You're going to be able to do, just because you can't do what I did doesn't mean that you shouldn't do, what's best for you.
So whatever's best, whatever you want to do, and that just, I think I have met people that don't want to exercise in public. They don't want to, they feel like they're going to be made fun of in some way. And I try to reiterate this as much as possible. I've never been in a gym. I've never been in on a track or out running where I've thought, oh, that person shouldn't be running. I've always, no matter how slow they could be crawling, and I'd just be like, awesome job. Like you're amazing. You're out there and you're doing it.
You're trying.
Yeah.
That's all you can ask for is, to try. You really see a lot of these people that are like, oh my God, I wish I could be like them. And it's like, honestly, you go back and you look at a lot of those people. There's a lot of people that I've looked up to for years that all of a sudden you look at a picture of them and it's like, oh wow, they were a lot bigger 10 years ago. It's like, well, yeah, they dedicated. And like you said, every day you get up and you go run, and it's just that consistency of doing something over and over again to where you get better. Yeah.
And the way that, I do run in the morning. I run, it's one of the first things I do. I don't eat. So I don't eat before I run. And then I usually don't eat until around noon anyway, but I'll go out and then do the miles. And what's interesting to me, and I don't advocate this for anybody else because I don't know how safe it is or what it really means, but it's always interesting to me that I can go and run for 4 miles without having any food in me from probably 6 o'clock the night before. How far can my body be pushed and have it still function?
I get that one. Because I'm that way. If I get up and I'm going to do a run in the morning, I usually will not eat because I'm not a morning eater. I'm more of a noon, like you said, a lunch eater. So I have to have my coffee. So I do put I use Premier Protein, which is a protein drink that I use to sweeten my coffee instead of, creamer, so because it's a lot better for me. But so I do that, but that's usually all I'll have till like noon. So I'll go out and run, and I'll go out and do Spartans. I've done a full beast on an empty stomach, and people are like, you're an idiot. And I'm like, I'm just not hungry. And if I eat, I'm going to get nauseous and then I'm going to puke in the middle of the race. And I don't want that.
I used to get like side stitch, the cramp. I hate that. That's the worst. So, and my muscles got stronger from the running and also from not eating a lot before I ran. I think that made a big difference. But so for my 2000th day of running in a row, I plan on running 20 miles. Nice. And I've never ran 20 miles before. The farthest I've ran is a half marathon. So we'll see how it goes. My hope is to get some other people involved, and maybe they can, they can go on Instagram and they can put my username in and tell me that they ran a mile. I can throw that up in my story, and then we can get a whole bunch of people that have their first run streak day, and maybe they can continue, because as soon as you do it one day, right, that's day one.
Yeah, that's day one.
And I just thought that kind of would be a cool thing. I've been trying to figure out what to do. And originally I wanted to run with a bunch of people, but obviously that's not a good idea right now, maybe for day 3000. But typically so for day one, my 1000th streak day, I ran 10 miles. And then, so I just thought, okay, 20 for 2000. Nice. And the thing is though, for 10 miles, you don't really need to eat along the way, but for 20 you should have something, because my body will start to break down. And I don't have a whole clue how to do that. I'm going to buy some stuff and I'm going to look into it for how much. But I plan to do it all at once and pick up trash along the way. And then at the end of every mile, I'll take a video and then throw that up on my Instagram at the end of it.
And that's one thing I will say is I have learned over the years is never try eating something for the first time while you're running. Because if it does bad things to your tummy, it's sometimes hard to find a place to,
It could be bad. That'd be a heck of a way to celebrate.
So, no, what I found actually, what I use all the time now, and it's my new go-to is I wraps. I've got these really good, like, spinach wrap that I buy. And then I just put, basically make a sandwich in the spinach wrap, roll it up, and it's nice and compact, and it doesn't matter if it gets squished like a sandwich because it's just in a wrap.
Yeah.
Wrap it up, and it's just, usually like a little bit of, a nice lean lunch meat, whatever, a nice cheese that I like. And, I might throw something else in just for a little bit of flavor, wrap it in the spinach, and I put it in a Ziploc bag, and it's nice and compact, and I can grab it and I can actually eat it while I'm still running.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Maybe I'll try that. I was thinking honey too, because I used to do that. I would have a little bit of honey for a longer run. But I'm just going to have to look into it and figure it out and try it a few days before. But I've only got 11 days left. So
yeah, you're almost there. I say, I mean, for the on the podcast, we can definitely, promote it and all that stuff and, get people. I mean, that might not even be a bad idea. Start our own little group of run streak and, get the 1 mile a day. I mean, I'm shooting for 175 miles this month. So, I mean,
that's amazing. I think my farthest is probably 120 in a month. And I remember when it was really hard to get to 100 because I use Nike, the Nike app. Mm-hmm. And they give you a little badge when you hit 100 days of running in a month. And I'd be like, oh, I'd be so close. Now I do 4 miles every day. It's easy. But like 175 miles in a month. There's a person on my, that I follow on Instagram that runs, he did like 290 last month. I go, wow, you're so amazing. But like I mean, so it's so much of your day. It's so much of your body. It's just amazing that you're so dedicated. So that's super cool. I'm excited.
It's interesting because the hard part for me is because this month or in June, I screwed up. And all of a sudden on like the Saturday with 4 days left in the month, I'm looking at because I keep a spreadsheet because I only count like, some people are like, oh, how many miles your Fitbit says you walk. No. I only count when I actually go out of the house and go walk, because the Fitbit sometimes will say I've walked 7 miles and all I've done is teach all day because I pace.
Yeah.
So, so I only count when I actually go run, and I did the math, and I'm like, I'm 45 miles short and there's 4 days left in the month. So I had to do pretty much, almost a half marathon every day for 4 days just so I could make sure. And the last one I did, I started my office at the AGC building in Seattle, which was where I was teaching that day. And I went up and I was going to run around the lake twice. Well, I took a weird turn and I'm like, oh, I passed the Fremont Bridge, and I'm like, oh, I'll just go. The next bridge is only like a half a mile up, right? No. The Ballard Bridge is another 2 miles up.
Oh, no.
So I end up doing just like the way I went around, and then I'm like, okay, well, I'm already off track. So, I went up and visited the troll and, ran around while I was doing that. So I ended up doing 12 miles just by doing random things, running around Seattle.
So we have the same type of thought process because it's just the extreme. How can we make this more extreme? And I remember, so this happens fairly regularly. Let's say like once a month, somebody will stop me for directions. Mm-hmm. And it's usually within the first mile. And that's the danger zone because that means I have to repeat. Because if I stop, I don't consider it for the streak. So I've had people stop me when I was literally at 0.98. So, 10 seconds away from the mile, and I would stop and give them directions, and then have to run 2 miles that day. But it's just it's just exactly what you're saying. It's not done. So I got to keep going. I can't just say, well, it's done, because it's not really done. In my head, it's not really done.
Yeah. And that's me. So it's just, I have to do if I said this is what I was going to do, and it was like, everyone's like, if you only did 130, I don't think that's a problem. I'm like, but I told myself I'd do 150. So I got to get that, I got to get there. So it's been fun though. I mean, it's been interesting, finally getting that. I forgot how much I actually enjoyed running because, like I said, like 10, 12 years ago, I started doing it, but then I had a knee injury, so I stopped. And then I got big, and then I started doing it again, and then I shattered my foot, and so I stopped, and then I got fat, and then I'm like, okay, I just don't want to do it anymore. And now all of a sudden, now that I've dropped all the weight and fixed my diet issues, I don't just sit on the couch eating potato chips all day. So,
yeah, down. I love potato chips, but they'll take you down.
Oh, they will. They will. So, yeah. No, it's awesome to see you do it. Like I said, I think maybe if you want, we will. We'll definitely put a link to your Instagram and everything when we post this online and all that stuff, so that people can find you and follow you on. Because like I said, I love seeing it every day. It's just a huge huge thing to see every day. A motivation of yep, she did it again today. So.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you for looking at it. It would be awesome if people, ran a little bit, even if they picked up like one piece of trash while they ran. Mm-hmm. My trash streak is 138 days. And of course it's got to be a streak, right? Because I can't, can't do anything that's not in streak fashion. But that would be awesome if people started a run streak and then, picked something up along the way. I think that would be super cool. So yeah, I appreciate that.
Definitely. So yeah, like I said, that's kind of what got me into the idea of reaching out to you to come onto the show, because I'm like I kept seeing it and I'm like this is really cool. So yeah,
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Oh yeah, like I said, it's just weird to I thought it'd be a little weird though, because it's like, yeah, I know you as Brandon, but now
That's all right. We can all have, you can have whatever name you want.
It's like, I've had a few people ask why, and I'm just like, well, Mike James is so common.
Yeah.
And when you're doing comedy and stuff like that, you want people to remember you. So it was kind of like, I finally went away from the Mike James and went Brandon Valentine, which is my mom's maiden name is Valentine. So, and my middle name's Brandon. So.
I feel like you look like a Brandon Valentine. It works.
It does. So yeah, like I said, I mean, it's a family name still. Like I said, my mom's maiden name's Valentine, so it's still a family name. So yeah,
I'm excited for comedy in person to start coming back.
Yeah,
I don't know.
The first show coming back for my other personality, Brandon, for Re-Nerdish podcast, we have the Cole Street Brewery on August 5th. So as long as nothing happens. Yeah. And we don't go backwards on anything. August 5th, we will be doing, social distancing, everything we're supposed to, we will be following the guidelines, but we should have our first show back. So
I think it's going to be awesome.
We'll be hosting.
Yeah, I'm super excited. It's been so long. I've done a lot of Zoom shows and Instagram shows. I've gotten to do stuff and meet people in different countries. It's been awesome. I've done Zoom shows in South Africa, like a couple of them. And it's just so neat to see the same jokes work, or to meet different people and to see that you just see different types of comedians. That I really enjoyed that aspect of all this, Yeah. But I am excited for it to be back in person again, because
I am too. I mean, and that has been one of the things that's been one thing that's come out of this pandemic, is it's really changed a lot of the way some of us look at things. For me, it's kind of, I haven't done comedy I've done the one, you saw the one debate that I did, and that was a little different because I can still see who I'm debating with, but there's still no audience. And that's what makes it's like, you don't know how the audience is really hitting. So it's kind of, it's weird, but I don't know, but for like my work, because, I'm in occupational safety and health and I teach a lot. And so most of my classes have gone to Zoom. So I teach a lot of Zoom classes, doing OSHA 10 and OSHA 30 classes, trying to teach those through Zoom is really weird, but
I bet.
But it's been interesting. I've got to finally a few now that we're out of some of the phases, as long as we follow the social distancing guidelines, where we can do them in person, but it's still different. Yeah,
I wonder if we will have to wear masks while we hold the microphone. I'm fine with that, but I'm just curious at where we'll be.
Where we'll be at. So I think we might have to, but I know it's, I mean, that's one thing where I've had issues like with the teaching, is it's really hard for people to understand when you're wearing a mask sometimes. Yeah. So I've pretty much told everyone that when we set up the classrooms, I want them, I want to be at least 10 feet away from them, because I want to be able to, pull my mask down, so that while I'm talking, they can understand me, and then I always wear the gaiters, so that as soon as I walk within closer, I can grab the gaiter and pull it up.
Yeah.
But the place that I go and teach, I do most of my teaching at the AGC building. And I mean, as soon as I'm done with the class, they come through and it's almost like, CDC coming through and just wiping the whole place down and, cleaning everything, including the pens, everything down. So
that's wonderful. Yeah. I go to a hospital for physical therapy and I have to wear a mask.
Yeah.
The physical therapist wears a mask too, but I think that you have to now, but 2 weeks ago you didn't have to. And there were people in there in a hospital that weren't wearing masks, that were just there for physical therapy. You're like, what are you like? Have you not seen the news? Let me hand you this paper. Like, what are you doing? Maybe, I don't know. I guess some people have like, there's a lot of issues that come along with the people that don't want to, people that can't. I just hope everybody's safe and we're not spreading things. I'm trying to do my part. I barely left the house except, for.
And I have, like I said, I have the gaiters, and I actually there's one in every car. And then I have one that's in my jacket pocket in case I, for whatever reason, lose the one that's in the car. And like I said, I really like the gaiters. Can I put them around my neck and then I can just pull it up? Because when I run, I'll keep the gaiter on.
Yeah.
Because it's really, like I said, I've had asthma and everything else throughout my life. So trying to run with a full mask on, it gets very, very annoying and hard to do. So if I can just have to grab the mask and pull it up occasionally, because when I was running through Seattle, there was a few people that are like, oh my God, I'm going to get within 6 feet. And it's like, okay, I can pull up the mask because we're going to be within 6 feet. But most of the time I'm running, like here, I'm on a trail where there's plenty of room for me to get, 6 feet away from people. So, but yeah, I'm one of those. I have no problem wearing it, when I go into a store, when I go anywhere else, because even if they're wrong.
Yeah. It's no problem for me to throw that mask on. I
have a lot of people. Well, what if they're wrong? Then you've worn a mask.
Yeah. Who cares? It's not a big deal. We can all do this. And I mean, I don't know. I can see. I wear a mask when I like cut the grass and do things like that. And I don't know if you use like an N95 or an N100, something like that. Even after wearing something that's that thick, and you can still, if you blow your nose afterwards, you can still see dirt and grass and grime and from an OSHA standpoint, like it's still getting up in there. So I can see how we can spread things.
Oh yeah.
Without wearing.
Oh yeah. Completely. So, all right. Well, this has been a blast.
Thank you for having me.
Anytime. And like I said, I can't wait. I'm really, excited to see you in a month do comedy out at Cole Street. So, and thank you for doing this. Like I said, I know it was kind of, when I first reached out, I'm like, oh, by the way, my real name's Mike James, and I want my non-comedy podcast. So, which I do need to get you on one of my other shows. So, I think it'd be fun having one of the other ones. So, all right. Well, thank you for everything, and we will talk soon.
Yeah, thank you very much. If you want, you can follow me at Ash Gutermuth, and I hope to see you soon. I'll see you in August. Thank you again.
And then it's spelled Gutermuth, right?
That is correct. Yes.
Just want to make sure the listeners can find it. Like I said, we will make sure there's a tag on there so people can find you. So, all right, perfect.
All right. Have a good day. Thanks.
One last question before you hang up.
Sure.
We sometimes use the video and put YouTube up. Is that okay with you too?
Yeah, it's fine.
I want to make sure
put lip gloss on and drank water.
I usually don't set up the meetings. It's actually the other guy, Don. He usually sets everything up for me. So he usually talks to people about that. And I'm like, oh yeah, I didn't say anything about the fact that we might put this up as a video. So some people have an issue. They're like, oh, my voice is fine, but I don't want, yeah.
I don't think I have any issues. Yeah, it's fine.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you very much. And we will talk soon.
Okay. See ya. Thanks for having me.
Yep.
Okay, bye-bye.